I am so excited to introduce a fellow Aussie. We have Jasmine Schipp joining us. Jasmine is from the Australian Centre for Behavioural Research in Diabetes, the ACBRD. She is a PhD candidate. However, she is far, far smarter than me because she's in Copenhagen right now. So it is not 4:20 a.m. or whatever it is here. Hello, Jasmine. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. How are you going, Renza?
Very, very well. I miss seeing your face in Melbourne, but I'm thrilled that we get to see it here today. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We've got Jasmine speaking about how diabetes data and connected devices impact quality of life. So the Australian Centre for Behavioural Research in Diabetes, and please do after this go and have a look at the work of the centre, looks at just that, the behavioural aspects of diabetes. And I'm very fortunate that I get to work with the team there on a number of different projects. But Jasmine, so thrilled to hear from you today. I'm going to step off screen and we're going to leave it to you and your slides now. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Renza. And we're also very fortunate to be working with you. So I'll be talking today about how diabetes data and connected devices can improve quality of life for people with diabetes. So what is quality of life? It's defined as a personal evaluation of how good or bad your life is. And it can be tricky to define and measure because it's subjective, which means that what you think makes your life good or bad can be very different to what I think makes my life good or bad. And as researchers, we're often interested in measuring diabetes-specific quality of life, because we want to know how diabetes impacts on your quality of life. And we know from this research that, unfortunately, diabetes can often negatively impact quality of life. So some research conducted by my colleagues at the Australian Centre for Behavioural Research in Diabetes highlighted this. People spoke about how self-managing their diabetes is difficult, relentless, time-consuming, and it takes a lot of effort. For example, this woman said, "It's a full life experience. It's not something you can just do and take a break from whenever you feel like it. It's there 24/7 and it's draining." So we know that diabetes is hard to manage. Ideally, we want to find devices and data that can make it easier. So I'm going to be using a case study that I think is one of the coolest examples of connected devices and diabetes data. And it's what my PhD focuses on, which is looping. So people who are looping are using self-built systems. So they were developed by people in the diabetes online community like Dana Lewis, who will be speaking later today. And they're connected devices because they connect your CGM with your pump, and they automate some decisions about insulin delivery based on an algorithm. And also, diabetes data can be visualized in a new way when people are looping. And in my PhD, we conducted 2 studies. So we asked people in Australia who are looping about their experiences using it, and then we measured quality of life and other outcomes in a worldwide survey. So first, I'll be talking about how diabetes data can improve quality of life for people who are looping. So when you're looping, people can have a system that looks like this, where they have all these great, easy to read visualizing graphs that can show things like current and predicted glucose levels, active insulin, insulin delivery, and active carbohydrates. And when data is presented in this really easy to understand way, people said that it helped them to understand themselves better, to understand their glucose levels and their diabetes better. For example, this person said, "Seeing that as a graph, I've never seen my diabetes in that way. I can better predict what's going to happen in the future, or I can better understand what's happening with my body, really." People also told us about how gaining this better understanding of their glucose levels and just how complicated and variable their diabetes was gave them some more compassion for themselves. They started to see that what Loop was doing in the background was really, really hard work, and it would have been impossible to do it themselves. For example, this person said, "There's no way I could have been doing that myself. I wake up in the morning and I might have had 5 units of insulin overnight. You could never replicate that yourself." So we can see here in this example that data that's easy to understand, that's visualized in a way that's easy to read, can help people to understand themselves and their bodies better, and can help them to be more compassionate with themselves. Secondly, I'll talk a bit about how connected devices can improve quality of life in people who are looping. So a looping system creates connections between a CGM and an insulin pump, and it automates some decisions about insulin delivery using an algorithm. And this means that some of the decisions and some of the burden and effort of diabetes can be lessened. So for example, this person here was previously using a pump and a CGM separately, and then they started looping. They said, "When I was just on a pump and CGM, I'll still be having to look at the CGM, see what my blood sugar is doing. If it was going up, I'd have to actively think about giving a correction or setting a temporary basal rate or whatever. But now the system's just doing it for me, so it's a lot less work. A lot less work and a lot less time. People told us that they got back an hour of their lives every day they would have usually spent managing their diabetes. And people also mentioned some other great benefits too. The people talked about things like being able to sleep through the night, or being less afraid of having a hypo, or being less worried about their diabetes. So when we conducted the worldwide survey, we wanted to measure all of these outcomes. So these are outcomes that are related to quality of life, so they're similar but not exactly quality of life. So in order to measure this, we had to give people a whole bunch of questionnaires. So we asked people about how well they were sleeping, how worried they were about their diabetes, how worried they were about hypos, how they were feeling overall, how they were feeling specifically about their diabetes, and how they were feeling about the treatment option they were currently using. So looping for the people who are looping, and then we also had a comparator group of people who were using standard care. We did this in a worldwide survey with over 450 loopers took part. And when we compared them to the control group, we saw that they had a better quality of life, but they also did better on all of these other measures too. So the reason we thought about including these measures was based on the interviews that we did and what people told us about how these devices were impacting on their daily lives. For example, people were sleeping better because their glucose levels were staying within target range overnight. For example, this person said, to be able to sleep without waking up in the middle of the night low, without waking up high, it's just the quality of sleep would have to be the greatest asset that I found since I've started looping. People also talked about how if they were confident they were going to stay within these target range, they were less afraid of having hypos. For example, this person said that they had peace of mind around knowing that I won't die in my sleep or not be able to wake up and treat a hypo. People also told us about how looping helped them to lower their diabetes distress. And a big part of diabetes distress is worrying about the future, worrying about possible complications you might have down the track. And I think this quote from this woman in our study really powerfully sums us up about how she felt looping improved that. She said, I thought I might lose my toes and I might be in a wheelchair one day. And now I have more hope that I can be extending my quality of life as well as quantity so that I can hopefully just be a grandma. Whew. So in conclusion, in this example, we can see how data can help people to understand their diabetes better when the data is easy to understand. And it can help them to have more compassion for themselves when they start to really see for the first time just how complicated, just how variable their glucose levels are. And that it's not their fault if they were ever struggling before, because it's really, really, really hard work. Connected devices can also help to remove some burden and effort for people if it's helping to make some of the decisions or the calculations for them. And we also saw that devices and data can improve a range of different things in people's lives, such as how they were sleeping or how worried they were feeling. So this is really exciting because it shows that technology has the potential to be very beneficial and to improve quality of life. But technology is not accessible or affordable for all. So not everyone has a technology that they need or that they want to manage their diabetes. And technology is not a cure, like Andrea said, it's not a magic fix. It's still really hard work managing diabetes. And although technology might reduce some of the burden and effort, it doesn't make it fully go away. And furthermore, as Andrea spoke to as well, it can come with its own burdens and its own barriers and burdens, such as skin reactions to the adhesives, which Andrea spoke about. Finally, technology is not one size fits all. Everyone is different and everyone can choose to manage their diabetes differently. And as Andrea said, that can change from moment to moment. And next up, we'll be hearing from Amin on what options work for him when he's choosing to manage his diabetes. Despite technology, diabetes is still a really challenging condition to manage, but there are promising results showing that connected devices and data can really help make people's lives easier. I'd like to thank all of the participants who contributed to this work. We would not be able to do research without you, to my co-authors who helped out on these studies, and I'd also like to thank you all for your time and attention today. Cheers.
Thank you so, so much. I think that one of the things that is really important is that we do recognize just how hard diabetes can be. And you did that so beautifully. So thank you very, very much for that. I'll say the same thing as I said to Andrea, don't go too far away because we absolutely will be bringing you back because we have lots of questions coming in. And a reminder to people in the audience, please do ask questions. We will be getting to them in our panel discussion where we will be absolutely drilling our speakers, and you've got an opportunity to do that too. Thank you so much, Jasmine, and we will see you soon.